This is Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans with me, Cheryl Burke, an iHeartRadio podcast. Okay, so it's week 7, but first of all, before we even get into this recap, welcome to Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans. I always forget to do this intro because I get so passionate about, doing these recaps, but I hope you guys are enjoying them so far. And just know that I try and comment and judge everyone pretty as fairly as possible. I mean, I have no biased opinion, to be quite honest. I love all the pros, but and I also have grown to love all the celebs that I've been watching the past few weeks. As you guys know, for those new listeners that are just listening, I do not wait until I see the judges' scores. I like to kind of judge on my own and assess from there. Okay, let's start with the opening number. So I'm a little confused, though I love Alfonso and Julianne's chemistry. I was a little confused by the scripted bit at the top of this show. I mean, maybe I'm not really good with stuff like that, so maybe I'm slow in general, but hey, I didn't think it was needed. It made no sense. But as far as Paula Abdul goes, holy crap, Paula, if you're listening to this, which I doubt, but you're my girl. We've definitely ran into each other and crossed paths in the past, and I have to tell you, she looks drop dead gorgeous. I've never seen her look better. I got chills when she walked out. She looks spectacular. I would say it's because she's been dancing a lot. I follow her on social media, so I see her get together with so many dancers, and she just looks like she's having a ball. Okay, so I wish, actually, instead of that scripted bit, that Paula Abdul and the boys would be dancing more together. They made more of a number, especially since Paula looks incredible and she looks like she's in the best shape of her life. Let's go to couple number 1, Lele and Brandon. Okay, poor Lele. This is the part of the competition where it's like make it or break it, right? Both mentally and physically. We are past the halfway point, and, I could tell because, Lele pointed out her cold sore, and it looked so painful, and my heart goes out to her. I hope she's okay. But obviously the competition is weighing down on her, I think, more mentally, and it's coming out physically. And I'm sure it's also affecting her competitors as well, but in different ways. You saw Sochi last week. She already got injured early, kind of early on in the competition. But at this point, like I said, it's either make it or break it. And, now with the 2 full dances this week, the format is back to where it was when Conrad was our showrunner from the beginning, meaning that instead of just giving the couples 2 dances without slowly, grooming them to get there, I prefer what is happening this season, where you see 2 full dances, but last week was the group dance or the dance off, and now it's the team dance plus their solo dance. And moving forward, it's going to be 2 full dances, meaning the length of the dances are going to be longer, and it's now about basically survival of the fittest. Okay, so Shakira and Lele, first of all, look like sisters. I loved her reaction meeting her. I'm a huge fan of Shakira as well, and I'm a huge fan of Lele, so I love that they met. Anyway, I also feel like this couple, as I've expressed, they've been super underrated, but I love how they're going first. That's a great sign. Clearly, they're the opening of the show. So basically, in my head, in my conspiracy theory, that means it's a good sign because you're opening the show. That means you've got votes and you're making people want to stay tuned for the rest of the show. I just hope that tonight Brandon and Lele don't get lost in the shuffle and they get the scores they deserve, But I have to say, after watching their performance, unfortunately, I was very underwhelmed. I feel like Lele's confidence just wasn't there tonight. Her eyes, though I know she was trying so hard, I feel like maybe her self-esteem a little bit this week wasn't intact, and it could be because of the way that she's just exhausted in general, right? If I were to say, a dance, let's say that this couple would absolutely kill, it would have been the salsa. Because, for me, the salsa is a faster beat. It's a 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. I would have danced like a samba to the song that they danced to tonight. If I were Brandon, I don't know if he did this, but I would have worked closely with Ray Chu, the band, and added more of a salsa vibe to what I hear is a samba vibe. So music is everything. We're dancing to music. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't scream salsa, it's going to be really challenging to choreograph and perform. Lifts looked like a huge struggle, and it was hard for me to watch. Brandon was a little off balance. But look, I just think that if the lifts don't work right away in rehearsal, take them out. Don't even add the lift. There's so many floor tricks that you could do. But also, this girl can dance, Maybe she's not a lift girl. I'm not a lift girl, like above the head lifts. I prefer doing floor tricks, or I prefer, honestly, just dancing. She missed a New Yorker. She was on the wrong foot. The connection between the two of them, Brandon and Lele, was way off. It seemed kind of like they just met for the first time, like it was back to week one. So as far as improvement goes, I didn't see much of that tonight. But I also want to give credit to Lele. She must be in pain physically and mentally. And I get it. If anyone gets it, it's me. I don't want to give them a lower score, as I have expressed that, this couple has been underscored. But tonight and heading into week 8, I'm taking all of this into consideration. I expected way more from them in general. I give Lele and Brandon a 7. Okay, so couple number 2, Ariana and Pasha. First of all, how hot does Ariana look? I mean, she looks better than Brittany. Just saying, girl, you look fierce as shit, okay? And shout out to the glam department for the wet hair and smoky eye. You guys are killing it this season. So, a little birdie told me, and from what I hear, obviously on social media, but even before the whole social media, exploded when Ariana was at BravoCon. She was definitely there, obviously, but I also heard that it was almost impossible for Pasha to get there and rehearse. I think that maybe he did end up rehearsing from midnight to 3:30 in the morning was the only time available from what I hear. But with all of that being said, I'm super impressed with how it came together. Super clean moves. However, I wish she had more time to rehearse because Pasha is the king when it comes to teaching in general, but especially of the Latin genre. Music video aside, the cha-cha parts were super grounded. I could see Pasha leading Ariana and Ariana completely trusting in Pasha. I don't know if she rolled her ankle, but I love that little smile that happened genuinely and authentically from Pasha, which made Ariana feel good about herself. I could see that. It gives me chills because you could tell they have such a special bond and the trust is there. And like I said, when it comes to lead and follow, I applaud them for staying super authentic. That's not easy. And also, good on Pasha. Pasha's killing it this season. Oh my goodness. When it comes though to Ariana's bottom half, she was super grounded, which is great. Me and Pasha and Daniella, I would say, believe in the same type of technique when it comes to the Latin dances, especially. And, the cha-cha beat was on the slower side for me and for my taste, which makes it harder in general, especially for someone with no ballroom experience, but her timing was excellent in the whole routine. So she was never off time other than that little stumble, but that wasn't, whatever. I also hear that she injured herself a few weeks ago. So, good on her for wearing Latin heels. Cha-cha, is normally a dance that I would get personally for week 1, which I loved because it gave me at least 2 to 3 weeks to work the foundation and technique with my celebrity of not just cha-cha, but building a foundation for most of the Latin dances when it comes to no heel leads, etc. Obviously, Paso Doble, excluding that dance, and to build cha-cha is basically a faster version of a rumba, right? And with that, both dances, when it comes to rumba and cha-cha, have rumba walks is what we call it, or walks. And that alone, my dance coach wouldn't give me any choreography until I nailed rumba walks for a solid year and a half. When I say, I'm not exaggerating, for a year and a half. They're hard. And I have to say those walks were pretty impressive. And, with all of this being said, Ariana needed to close her legs, or get her knees to kiss when showcasing lock steps, which is a cha-cha basic figure that's in the technique book. And in general, I wish there was just more cha-cha content, as it was 60% Britney music video and 40% cha-cha. But considering her travel schedule, she did great. But I have to, judge fairly. And so, I give Pasha and Ariana an 8. Couple number 3, Harry and Rylee. Shout out to my boy, Lance Bass. Love you, Lance. I do think that, him going into the studios and giving that piece of advice to Harry that, look, people expected so much from me, but ballroom was just not easy for him to retain. And you can also, when you hear Lacey's episode, I interviewed her recently a few weeks ago, you could hear her side of the story, which now matches, I think. It looks easy. And especially this is my what I always say, to people with dance experience that come on Dancing with the Stars to do the challenge, which is to learn to ballroom, it isn't necessarily, it doesn't help them. It actually hurts them because it's so much harder to untrain the brain than it is to train it. AJ and I also talk about this as well. If you want to listen to that episode, which was just the last episode prior to this recap. Let's get to Harry and Rylee. As far as Lance giving him the advice of, just get out of your head and just, perform. I love you, Lance, but unfortunately, he's not a performer. So that just totally went, I think, over his head. Lance did a TikTok, which is really funny, where he mentioned that Rylee wasn't even born when NSYNC's album came out. Anyway, check it out. It's so cute, though, how Rylee was so excited to see Lance. Also, at the end of the day, I saw, Harry and Rylee's rehearsal, and, this shoulder move that she was like trying to get him to do. Harry expressed that he couldn't do it or he didn't feel comfortable doing it, which I'm assuming, they gave this specific step an actual try. And, Rylee was being super encouraging and sweet. And she goes, yes, you can. But I think maybe moving forward, maybe she should take it out, because this is the thing. We don't have a lot of days or hours to rehearse, especially with 2 full dances. And when your celebrity expresses insecurity, you want to really listen to, how he feels, because at the end of the day, whenever it gets to that step, it's now going to be in his brain that, he doesn't feel comfortable, and that doesn't help with his self-esteem. As soon as I see my partners just not get a step, just take it out and replace it with something that they feel more comfortable doing. Cause it's not like a make it or break it move to where, it's technical and he has to do it. Look, at the end of the day, I think it's important just to moving forward, obviously I'm assuming you'll be back as a pro, maybe just listen to that little tiny, vulnerability of a feeling coming out of your partner, and just take note of the fact that he doesn't feel comfortable. So let's just throw it out and replace it with another step that he would feel better doing. So this is what I mean by the pros needing to adapt to what looks and feels good to their celebrity, right? In order to get them to shine and be in the right headspace for the live performance. So with Harry being put with 2 male pros, it's a little dangerous. But I understand that they are paying homage to NSYNC, which is obviously a boy band. However, when it comes to spins or anything technical, I would have not choreographed that in, or maybe I would have had the pros just not spin and have held a pose for them while Harry spins, so that there's no room for comparison, as Harry clearly didn't spin as sleek and fast as the pros did. Now, again, I am no jazz judge, but I guess I expected more jazz content from them. I was a little shocked to see so much partnering, especially since Rylee, has definitely been exposed to different genres of dance. But since Rylee did say in her package that he gets a little insecure with being, by himself and dancing by himself. But again, this is the challenge, right? Moving forward, I'm a little worried that they have now almost run out of dances that are allowed lifts, because we know that they're strong when it comes to partnering in that sense. We know that Harry can lift Rylee. We know that he's a great partner to her in that sense. But when it comes to the challenge of this competition, though, he looked way more comfortable than ever before. And he definitely, I think the lip syncing helped. It helped get him out of his head. But the content itself, as this is week 7, was underwhelming for me. I love their partnership, and I know that I'd love Harry if I ever crossed paths with him in the near future. So this isn't me hating on him as he maybe would put it, but it's just me seeing what I see coming from studying, dance for a few decades now. So with all of that being said, I have to give Harry and Rylee a 6. Okay, couple number 4, Jason and Daniella. First of all, I hope Daniella is okay. What a true pro, not showing that she was injured last week. Though I wish the cameras would have gotten it. It just reminds me of back in the day, we used to do these confessionals where straight after our live performance, we would go into one of their smaller rooms, over at CBS. I know this is on ABC, but we shoot at a studio called CBS, for those of you that have commented about that prior to this. But I miss seeing this because the moment after we get scores, that is the true reality that, I as an audience member and fan want to see. And I'm pretty sure the audience wants to see that as well. We want the real raw emotions from when the adrenaline is still running through the couple's bodies. And from after achieving the challenge of the week, there's like a sense of like, oh my God, you can take a deep breath. Whether or not you got the score do you expect it to get, it's irrelevant. Like those are the true emotions. It was just like so good. Anyway, I just feel like it's a real moment that I think the show could use more of in general. But now for me, going back to Jason and Daniella, now that's a freaking jazz number. I mean, like I said about Harry and Rylee, I wish it would have had more jazz content. And that's what I mean, though I can't put it into like the technical terms or words. But, and Daniella, I'm so impressed, like season after season, she comes more from the ballroom trained world, but I love just how she embraces all of the styles of dance that are given to her. And she looks damn good doing it. So shout out to my girl, Daniella. Honestly, such a like amazing dancer. Super clean and fun. I love the little jive bit. Actually, this would have been a great jive. Jason is a great partner to Daniella and vice versa. I love the ease and cool vibe that these two have. I mean, they definitely like breathe through each step, which gives dynamic. And this is what Derek means when he tells the couples to breathe, and what Bruno says when it comes to the detail, like work out the detail, because it was flawless. And what Carrie-Anne says as well when it comes to like the execution into a lift and out of a lift, you shouldn't see those transitions. It all flowed so beautifully. Jason looked even better than I would say the pros. No offense, but I mean, it's possibly because some of these pros are just ballroom trained, but also the musicality that Jason executed tonight. I mean, not because he's a singer, because maybe you guys are thinking, well, duh, he's a singer. No, it's because he's a great student. And you can tell Daniella works him to death. And more importantly, you can tell he studies and listens on his own time and listens to the music, maybe in his car, or you could just tell he's doing the work and not just when him and Daniella are rehearsing in the studio. He just seems like I said, a perfect student. I feel like the judges here, because I feel like I'm going to maybe not give them a 10, and I'm saying are positive things, but it's hard for me to give not a ballroom dance a 10, just so I can explain why I'm not giving a 10 and not be a hypocrite. But, to me, the show is about learning to ballroom. So, with that being said, I give Jason and Daniella a 9. Okay, couple number 5, Allison and Sasha. Okay, wow. I mean, I love that Allison, first of all, is still on the show. She is the definition of what this competition is about. She's a celebrity, first of all, with no dance experience, who has been vulnerable and has been transparent enough to let us in as an audience member, which is so nice to see. I've seen struggle with her. I've seen victory with her multiple times. And, she works so hard, and you can tell Sasha really respects her. So refreshing to finally see a ballroom number, and holy hell, Allison did not miss one step, you guys. She really didn't. And I was looking. She was on top of it. So now, I'm going to show you guys basically an example of when I say that the celebs get compared to themselves, meaning it's impossible to compare this dance that I just saw, the quick step from Allison and Sasha, to Jason and Daniella's dance, which was jazz, for example. Completely two different things, okay? It's like comparing oranges and apples. You can't. Jazz and ballroom are two different genres. So since Allison nailed that routine that was given to her by Sasha, and from seeing her from week 1 up until now and her progress, she has definitely, I would say, safe to say, she's the most improved out of all the contestants left. Now, as far as the quick step goes, I would have liked to see more body contact, meaning no space between the rib cage area. So when they're in ballroom hold, if you see space, if you see like a gap between the two people, then that's what we mean by there was not enough body contact, okay? I would have liked them to have danced maybe one more time around the ballroom floor, which means more power in the legs and ankles, as I have previously expressed. It's not about just like, hopping and running and quick stepping. It's about like using the floor and like using the power of the legs. That's what makes the quick step so impressive, is all of these steps, the fast paced music, but then just going around, the ballroom, basically. You need to be able to show the different dynamics, but that's just me being, really picky. I would have liked to see, I guess, Sasha, I always have said this about Sasha's smooth and standard routines, just more power. But Allison, as I said, she's doing amazing and is the definition of what this competition is about. Vulnerability, transparency, learning, growing, failing, winning, all of the things. And because of her improvement and from the execution of what I saw in tonight's dance, I give Sasha and Allison a 9. Okay, couple number 6, Sochi and Val. I was hoping we'd see what happened to Sochi. They showed right before they went into the studio for their package, you see the paramedics. But again, they don't talk about what actually happened to Sochi. And again, I would love to, comparing in a way her story to Allison's, it's the vulnerability I'd like for her to be a little bit more attainable in that sense, but that has nothing to do with Val and Sochi, by the way. That has everything to do with the producers. Anyway, Sochi looks gorgeous tonight, absolutely gorgeous. I love the makeup. I love everything about her. I love that she took creative control. You could tell she had a blast with this. Again, because it's jazz, it's really hard for me to really give constructive criticism other than, good on her for continuing the performance despite the wardrobe mishap, which is always so hard to do in the middle of a routine. It's it's very rare that it goes smooth, only because there's nerves and anxiety leading up to it. I would have loved, I have to say that the creative as far as the intro, dancing jazz, that when you hear that English guy at the very top of the actual performance. I love the creativity behind that. I thought it was a different spin. Solid performance. I give Sochi and Val a 9. Okay, couple number 7, Charity and Artem. Okay, so, I agree with Artem in their package. They had a little chat, a little heart to heart. I agree that their jive last week should have had more power. So the 8 in my eyes was deserved. I have to say, though, on a production side of things, my favorite package so far is this one for the season, I would say. I love the brunch with the girls. I love out of studio packages now as an audience member, though I hated it when we'd have to do that when I was actually on the show, because it really takes you out of the studio for real. And it isn't just that few minutes that you see on TV. It takes hours, which cuts into rehearsal time or even sleep time or having to do master interviews and fittings. It just goes on and on. But it was so cute and fitting for what, is going on currently, as far as their, performance goes. This is just a great change of environment, which, I think the audience loves to see more of. I would say from a production side, maybe, to do that as much as possible. But I know it is not easy, and us pros are not particularly excited to do it, but it's worth it. I would have loved to see more connection between Artem and Charity again. I've said this repeatedly, especially in the beginning weeks of this competition. When it comes to emotion, I just didn't feel anything. Knowing, Charity's potential, especially with that contemporary piece for Most Memorable Night. I know it's a different vibe, but she still could have channeled, maybe a fun memory she had with her fiance recently or, whatever, but it lacked chemistry. It lacked chemistry with Artem in those small moments in the detail where there could have been more playfulness between the two people, especially the moment where they locked arms. I remember watching Janet Jackson's music videos. I am a huge fan. And she had this playfulness, this flirtiness, with her dancers in her music videos. And it was just too much, I think, worrying about the cameras. It was just too smiley. It was all just kind of flat as far as expression goes through her body. It was underwhelming, unfortunately for me. I give Charity and Artem an 8. Okay, couple number 8, Barry and Peta. Clearly, Barry is getting the votes, you guys, and people love him as much as I do. I mean, he is the male celebrity version of who I think also defines what the show is about, just like Allison. I really am rooting for him. I mean, the poor guy has been assigned Quickstep as the challenge for the week, and you can tell he's exhausted. The grueling hours, the 7 days a week, you can see that he feels already defeated, that there's rules with the Quickstep, like what Allison and Sasha they were able to execute was they stayed in hold, and with that, the timing, the footwork needs to be in sync. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But he saved the day by that ending. That ending was super cute. You can tell he probably hates being restricted like that, because you could tell too that in his face and in his eyes, I don't know if it's exhaustion or if it's like defeat, but I am, if Barry's listening to this or anyone that knows him, we're all rooting for him. And, like Derek said, he could tell when he's on tour, everyone's rooting for Barry. I mean, Barry is the demographic of the show. And he also has zero dance experience, or zero ballroom dance experience, that is. And I'm happy, though, that hopefully they don't get eliminated and that they just get this dance out of the way. I think Barry is fit more for the Latin genre, or more of like the freedom of some of the dances, rather than being so restricted like that. And hold, it's really hard. It's actually harder to dance the quick step the way that Peta choreographed in the beginning, that slow, quick, slow timing. It's actually, once the momentum starts, because like you have to start the momentum from doing slow, quick, slow, which is always so challenging and so hard. So I like to, in a way, it's a lot easier when you're already like in it, meaning like, yes, it's nice to see the contrast, but it's also a lot easier stamina wise when you just like go for it and just start out with the runs and start out with something powerful. It's hard to get this momentum. And then when they did, that transition looked very awkward and fragmented. He wasn't owning it like he normally does. And I hope he's not giving up. I really hope that my masseuse was able to help him. It's just at this stage in the competition, it is survival of the fittest. However, I hope that this team dance coming up saves him and Peta from elimination. Unfortunately, I give Barry and Peta a 7. Okay, Team Gangnam Style. First of all, we did this. Okay, guys. Way to reenact it. I think Val was a part of the All-Stars season where we did this. I remember wearing all black bobs. The girls did. It was like Kirstie Alley, rest in peace. Kelly Monaco with Val, me and Emmett, and Peta and Gilles. Yes, in the towel. I mean, I thought ours was better. But anyway, it's not about us. It's about this season and it's about this team. I always find that in the team dances, everyone just looks so much better because there's not a care in the world about what the judges think. It's a team. And for some reason, maybe psychologically, they think like, you know what, this is just a fun dance. Let's just go all out. And let me tell you, every single person, I was saying and screaming at the TV, why don't you do it like this? Why doesn't Harry freaking power through like he did just now? He was not the weakest link. The way he threw Charity above his head. I mean, that was amazing. I was like, whoa. And then he like led the Gangnam Style like chorus. I thought Harry killed it. Honestly, he stood out to me and in a good way. I also thought Lele, that was the way you needed to do your salsa, girl. Okay. She attacked the camera. She didn't even question herself. She was just having a blast, and that ending was amazing. I definitely think that this team was fun. It was a great surprise just to see Harry have fun and enjoy himself. And Charity's cheerleading skills definitely helped as well. I give Team Gangnam Style a 10. Okay. Team everybody, right? Team for everybody. Anyway, I love that AJ was there. This is what he was talking about. You guys can listen. I mean, this was just one big coincidence, but he actually is the last person I interviewed here on Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans that you can check out anywhere you listen to podcasts. Maybe the one that you're listening to now as far as the app that you use. But AJ talks about, going there and having a little PTSD, but, he also explained that he actually helped teach, that section that was choreographed for their music video. I wish I would have seen more of AJ. But regardless, I understand they're pressed for time and it's not about that. But I love Ariana's reaction to AJ. Oh my God. She was like a super fan, dying, crying, almost about to faint. Anyway, it was so good to see his face on TV again. But as far as, their actual number goes, it wasn't as, I would say, entertaining maybe as Gangnam Style, but they also also it had more challenging steps. I mean, they, like Sasha said, they're sticking to ballroom, and that is the challenge, folks. I don't know. Look, yes, I gave Team Gangnam Style a 10, but I am going to give Team For Everybody a 10 as well, because I believe that their routine was a lot more challenging than the Gangnam Style one. There was more room for error for the first team dance. And for this one, it was really difficult. Like, they had to put the extra time in to really nail the transitions and nail the ballroom technique. I loved how, the girls danced together and the guys danced together. I thought it was solid. Moving forward, more on a production side, I hope that they have more rules going into team dances, whether it is just a free-for-all like Gangnam Style, or if they have to have a certain amount of eights or bars of ballroom. And I think that because this is Dancing with the Stars and it was originally based off ballroom dancing and the challenge of learning to ballroom, it would be more of a challenge and more of a competition to stick to that. But that's just my take on it. Anyway, great work tonight. Let's see who gets eliminated. Okay, and unfortunately, Lele and Brandon went home tonight. For me, I guess it's not a shock now. It would have been a shock if I didn't look and watch this show closely and if I didn't know what I know for being a part of the show. Look, it is what it is. I am happy Brandon got his thoughts out, because he's right. Like, they don't deserve to go home. They are not the worst dance couple left, but as we know, this is more than a dance competition. Now, their chemistry could have been stronger, but at the end of the day, I share his frustration, and I'm happy that he was able, I think he's like the first dancer that actually in all these seasons, 32 seasons, was able to express in a short soundbite, his frustration. And so be it, and Brandon, you did an amazing job this season. And you have really, as pro to pro, have really grown into your own identity on that show. So keep it up. And Lele, you're amazing. Continue sharing your story, continue talking about mental health, girl. You inspire me and many. All right, guys, that's a recap for week 7 on sex, lies, and spray tans. We've got a few interesting episodes coming up. I would like to say that we have Louis Van Amstel coming on. Louis recently came out with an Instagram video about my interview with Lacey. So make sure you tune in for that, as well as a couple of other special guests, and then another recap. And then the following week, we've got Leah Remini, both parts. You're going to get a treat because you'll listen to both parts back to back. So anyways, thank you guys again for all of your love and support through, this transition of mine and being more like behind the mic now and behind the mirror ball, I guess you could say. Thank you again, and make sure you continue listening, rate, review, all the things. Sending you love. Goodbye. Make sure you guys follow us at Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans on our Instagram handle, and make sure you comment. Let me know who you want me to interview. What do y'all think? Let me know.